So now I work as a chief marketing officer for a robotics and AI company. I would call myself a practitioner because the space changes so very fast. My name is Susan Oh. I started working in AI in 2014 for a startup in Silicon Valley. And so I started, and before that I was a business journalist for about 25 years, working for major media, global outlets. And when I started writing about technologies, those tech companies then turned around and asked me to help consult in terms of their community building, their story strategy, their PR marketing. And so I started doing escalating roles in that, working with tech startups from New York to San Francisco. And then in 2016, I was asked by a technical team to become their CEO of an AI-based company. And while I was in that process of learning my role for a couple months, I met this girl in the women's washroom of a tech conference. And she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I've got an AI company." She's like, "Great, I want a chatbot." And I was like, "What do you do?" And she said, "I have a Bitcoin starter kit." And we really liked each other. As in like, wow, those are amazing shoes. She's like, oh yeah, great outfit. And we totally bonded in the women's bathroom. And she's like, you should really work with me. And I said, oh no, I don't want any part of this stuff. She's like, no, you don't understand. It's bigger than that, than what you think. And so she just kept sending me links and references, or buy this coin and that. And I just read everything I could get my hands on for about 3 months, whether it made sense or not. You know, YouTube videos at 2x, reading. And one day I just sat up in bed and I was like, oh, holy shit, I could crowdsource my training corpus. Right? I can crowdsource the tagging and labeling of the data that I need to train my AI. And then so for the 3 months thereafter, at least for about a month and a half of that, I was on 1 to 2 hours sleep a night, trying to figure out how I wanted to, what blockchain tools that were available, to what specifically I wanted to do to automate in terms of gathering the data and the classifiers that I needed to start building my training corpus. So it started from there, and then I realized that those two technologies were actually synergistic, that they work really well together, as in that you could do the consensus protocol off-chain by using machine learning algorithms, and that would help offset the latency. And in the future, with much more layered and complex distributed computing systems, that each of those nodes would need machine learning algorithms embedded into those nodes to make sense of those transactions. So now I work as a chief marketing officer for a robotics and AI company that's based out of LA in California. It was co-founded by Harry Kleur, who's the visionary, who was the co-founder of XPRIZE Avatar, to help spur research and development in robotics and AI, and inventor Ray Kurzweil, who's the former chief scientist at Google. We have a fully functional prototype of a humanoid robot that can do task-specific things that's backed by an evolving AI brain. Do you know what? I don't think you should listen. Okay, so I don't like the word expert myself, unless you are a PhD, unless you have been a trader for 5 years, unless you have launched projects and communities over and stayed in at least one full bull run of 5 years. I wouldn't say that you are an expert. I myself have been in this space for 5+ years, but I still wouldn't call myself an expert, because I would call myself a practitioner, because the space changes so very fast. I have friends who've been in the space for 10 years, and they've battled many things, from being attacked from the outside in terms of regulation and hostile environments, from within, from a lot of scams and people who are over-promising on the tech, or just simply running off with the money with shitty technology. And so if you've been through a few of those cycles, then I would say, yeah. And if you've survived them and you're still in the game, then you can say that you're an expert. Well, you know what? Actually,
the start of this way.
Sure. You know, compared to traditional tech startups, and my only bias is, in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco Bay Area, and in New York, compared to consumer technology, I find crypto and blockchain to be actually exceptionally more welcoming, as long as you know your stuff. Right? So if you're willing to do the work, you're willing to adapt and put in the work and know what you're talking about and know your shit, then it tends to be a very welcoming space because they need the technical expertise, and lots of different projects need the technical skills far more and above than people's fragile egos. And there are those groups that will only basically hire marketing people that double as. They might as well be call girls or prostitutes because all they do is look good and they don't really know what to do. And there is a lot of that too. But, they don't last. I don't think. They don't last really well in a credible way. And I only like working with my friends that I'm aligned in principle with, where everyone's respected for their vertical expertise. So for women, learn everything that you can because the information is out there, and work with people whose approach and processes you respect, and keep an open mind as to what those different models and use cases can be. And because it truly is a global community, it's a global technology, and it moves very fast and it's technically dense.